Hey guys, if you ever needed a cheap water valve, you might look into these Fluidmasters for a toilet. But for $10, they're not bad. Now, using the valve system as it is a little awkward, but if you kind of just take off the part of the valve that has the diaphragm in it and pretty much get rid of the rest of it, 3D print your own valve body, then you can use these for hooking up your inlet and outlet of a micro-irrigation tubing that you can buy like $8 for 50 feet of it. Run it out to your garden, turn the water on manually, turn it off, what have you. Now these little valves, they leak a little bit, especially when you first turn it on or turn it off. It'll shoot out a little bit of water. So you'd never want to use this indoors, right? Especially since it's 3D printed and all. Now this following project is the reason why I designed the valve body. It's a mister system for your air conditioner. It helps keep the condenser cool in the hot summer days. It'll save you a lot of electricity and keep the head pressure down so it doesn't wear out and blow up your compressor on a hot summer day when you need it the most. So I'm going to change this valve out because this one here has been running for I think maybe 4 summers. I've changed out the top part several times, but it's getting a little sticky. Notice I have to put this little clip on here with a coin to weigh it down enough for it to shut off properly. So I've got the water off and I've got this new valve. This is the top, and it's all I need. What is that? Something fell out. So yeah, just the cap top piece. So this plastic doodad fell off of that. Don't need that, but I'm aware. Try to take this top cap off. I'm just breaking it off of there or prying it off. And I'm not going to need the cap here. Just going to use this valve. So I noticed on my old one, I get a lot of side slack. Hopefully you can take care of that. Pop this off gently. I believe there's a little more side slop in this one than in the new one. I don't know, borderline. But it does have a tendency to hang up. So everything should be cool. Just to slip this right back in here. I want it to be there when I'm finished. Clippy off. I don't believe I'll need the coin or the clip. Water back on, so Some spraying action. Looks like they've shut off good. I've put some silicone grease in this several times over the last few years. I believe I've replaced the seal on this as well. And, I wouldn't think much else could go wrong. It has quite a bit of resistance. The rubber may have just swelled up and is hanging on to that needle. You'll also notice that this one's dripping a little bit here after I change the valve. Just from moving the tubes around, they may start seeping sometimes. And I expect it to seal up, just sitting in the sun, not being used on and off. Throughout its cycles, it'll just seal itself off. But these valves leak anyway when they very first turn on. You see it squirts a shot of water down there. So that's why you can't really trust them indoors for anything other than inside your toilet tank, where the water gets captured even when they squirt out. I may actually take this cap cover and cut it up here and up here so I can slip it over this and provide a little shade for the water valve itself, because sitting in the sun they do get hot and have a tendency to warp, especially if it's printed in PLA or any other soft plastics. So there it is, shut off. So I did trim that cap, cut a notch out of it, and it'll help provide a little bit of shade, keep the plastic from getting too hot, too much direct sunlight on it. So because this 3D model is based on the Fluidmaster, here are some options. Looks like generally around $9. You can use just the top, Fluidmaster top, over here on the far left, and that is all you really need. But it's really hard to find those tops, and for another couple of dollars you can get the whole Fluidmaster. The 400A seems to be a pretty inexpensive model, right around that $10 range. In addition, you'll need this vinyl micro tubing. This one here is from Dig. It's available at a local orange box store. Yeah, be careful not to get the soaker hose, because it'll have holes in it. That's not really what you want. This vinyl tubing here, pretty inexpensive, $9, 50 feet. Usually can get you all the way from your spigot to your air conditioner. You can buy these little adapters to connect that vinyl tubing to your spigot. And all of these fittings, you just press them in and they grip, and it's held in there by imagination, and it seems to work. Now here's a set of 5 misting nozzles, and I actually did buy a set of 5, and these brass ones, they're really pretty good. They only use about ½ gallon per hour, and they get the job done. You can screw the threads on these directly down into the tubing. It's a snug fit. If you do get any leaks, you can wrap a piece of wire around it to make it grip a little better. But I've got some that don't have any wire on them. They just sealed up. This is another good option. I have one of these. You'll see in that video, it shows 2 gallons per hour, which is considerably more than ½ gallon an hour. It's a pretty good mist pattern though. And then it looks like I should lean towards these at an 0.8 of a gallon per hour. I think the purple indicates that 0.8 gallons flow rate. The other ones have the amber insert there, probably a little hard material to make sure it doesn't get whittled away by the water too quickly. Now this is one I bought one time. I should have noticed that on the label here, I've circled it, it's 0 to 31 gallons an hour. That's a lot of water. I never was able to get it to really put out a nice mist pattern whenever I'd try to throttle down the water flow. So I would avoid this style here. They're in the same price range, and it says right on it micro spray, mister, but I don't know how it qualifies as a mister, really. 3D printing the parts. Here are the supports that hold the water valve to a wire cage. If your air conditioner has a different sort of housing that doesn't use a wire cage, maybe it's a stamped metal with openings, you'll have to figure out maybe some other method. You might be able to jam this thing down into the metal openings and make it stay. That's up to your discretion if you want to bend some of the metal to accommodate it. Baling wire or copper wire is maybe better. It wouldn't rust so much. Does remarkably good at anchoring things to these air conditioners. The misters, I had initially mounted my misters with just copper wire. So here is the printed valve assembly that'll attach to the Fluidmaster valve body. It basically just provides you a means of connecting your 1/4 inch tubing. With this 3D printed model, it's best to clean it up, use a little bit of fine sandpaper around these nipples for your tubing to slide on. Make sure they have pretty clean edges, because what you want to do is have a clean edge and clear it out of any debris that may have come off with your sanding. Slip that piece of tubing on there one time and let it set. Don't be moving it around, because when it breaks off those nipples, you have to pretty much reprint the whole thing. My background is in a former career. I was an air conditioning and heating repair installation person for about 20 years. And I've seen a large number of air conditioners that their compressors failed during lengthy high heat days. And this can be avoided. A little system like this, a little mister, can certainly help cut down on compressor failure. It also does lower your head pressure on the condenser coil, which in turn reduces the amperage being drawn by your compressor, therefore using less power. There are a few turnkey products you can purchase, kits that have everything included to set up your mister system. They probably work just fine. This is just one method of doing it on the cheap. I've seen some reviews on some of the commercial products that talk as though they didn't last very long. This one here, it needs a little work. Every year you'd want to clean it out. At least it's accessible where you can take it apart and clean it and put some heat-proof grease or silicone grease in the valve to have another season of function. And I think it could extend your compressor's life significantly just simply by keeping the head pressure down and the power consumption down. So, hello everyone. I wanted to go through a couple of steps for the preparation for this. Basically, we're just cutting around on this support material, and just get rid of that, and then you got your piece here for your hoses to connect to. I typically clean these water connectors up a little bit with some fine, like 400 or so sandpaper, just to clean up the edges. It's got a little swollen place, a bevel to catch the water tube to fit watertight. You just want to make sure that's real round and doesn't have a little edge on it. And additionally, I use the sandpaper around on these seals. There's two areas, this inner seal area and this outer seal area. You can kind of smooth them down. It really doesn't typically take much. Kind of smooth. I've already buffed on this one for a bit, so I'm not going to do too much more. And then I'll take a little knife and run up along this top edge here. Clean that edge up because I don't print it with any support, so it'll get a little ragged sometimes. This one's pretty clean. And because it's clean, and I'm not taking any material off, it'll technically work both ways. This baby's tight, so I'm going to have to press down pretty hard. You got to be able to twist it and lock it in position. But there, it's pretty well locked in. Now I can just, and this will slide right into the Fluidmaster top, and it'll float around a little bit, but generally it'll stay there. So we got, when the fan comes on, it'll lift it and turn on the valve. We'll have our tubes coming here and here, and this will help support the tubes. This is in ABS. I have pretty good luck with ABS not leaking. I've printed it, I think last year or the year before, I printed it in PLA, and it didn't leak either. But PLA has a tendency to start warping and leaking on a 100-degree day. The ABS, it'll get pretty soft as well at a 100-degree day, but it's not quite as bad as the ABS. Hope you enjoy the project. Like and subscribe. Maybe I'll do another project in the future that may be of interest to you. Thanks for watching.